In the beginning, there was property. Someone worked hard for whatever they produced for themselves, so they thought the fruit of their labour belonged to them. However, this led society along a path of ignorance and cruelty. Property led to trading, and therefore competition. The idea that two parties both attempting to use deception to gain the better end of the deal, which is covert violence, will make both parties better off, when mathematically this leads to a social hierarchy, with the rich or wealthy making the decisions for the poor to obey under force or threat by bribed guards or the police, or some form of agency which protects the interests of the rich, which is to keep being rich while the poor remain poor. It isn't necessary for people to have access to what fulfills their human requirements and engage in the worst violence possible. It's obviously an antisocial personality disorder, but on a social scale. This ultimately increases tension in society, and when people act out in various ways, the explanation the rich arrogantly provide is that the poor have inferior genes since they're poor, and the rich have superior genes since they're rich. This is called the eugenics movement, and this pseudoscientific social myth will be popular as long as the market exists, since it's an ignorant explanation that leads people away from thinking that selfish trading is the problem and focuses on revenge by thinking certain groups of people are evil and at fault, scapegoats. The popular belief that execution, punishment, and jail solve problems, beliefs which come from the still present Dark Ages, are entirely false. The science does not support it.
All judges have the same middle name: God.
No trading, scarcity-based society will ever work. It relies on dysfunction to service problems and not having enough. Violence, poverty, pollution, addiction and such are ensured in this kind of social atmosphere. With evolving elitism, what we have today is a business-government fusion, the assumption being that business and government are different entities when ultimately they're the same. They keep promoting and pray that people will keep mindlessly accepting the idea that trading and competition brings prosperity, which is propaganda, since
the act of trade itself is coercive.
In this antisocial system we find ourselves in, where everyone is trading, you are forced to engage in the violent practice that is trading.
Business or pleasure for you?
Business. Always business.
And it is quite clear to a critical mind that those who advocate trading the most always have a malicious intention, covert or not, towards people in general. Such people are sick and twisted.
They have to do something.
They don't have to trade.
They have to do.
How do they have to trade?
They have to either trade.
They can go. They can go and I mean, 98% of the world's surface is uninhabited. They can go and live in the woods, and they can grow their own food, and they can hunt their own animals. I don't understand how it is they have to trade.
Civil government, so far as it is instituted for the security of property, is in reality instituted for the defense of the rich against the poor, or for those who have some property against those who have none at all. Instead of recommending cleanliness to the poor, we should encourage contrary habits. In our towns, we should make the streets narrower, crowd more people into houses, and court the return of the plague. Trade with me or else! You know, you'll try to deceive me to get the better end of the deal, and I'll do the exact same thing!
Trading is an act of conspiracy by its very nature.
This may be hard for you to understand, but there is no conspiracy. Nobody is in charge. It's a headless blunder operating under the illusion of a master plan. Can you grasp that? Big Brother is not watching you.
You make me sick, Worth.
I make me sick too. We're both part of the system. I drew a box, you walk a beat. It's like you said, Quentin, is keep your head down, keep it simple, just look at what's in front of you. I mean, nobody wants to see the big picture. Life's too complicated. I mean, let's face it, the reason we're here is that it's out of control.